paper trail. The man in the minivan knew all that. He wound round the ramps to the second level and headed for the far back corner of the structure. Left the van idling in the aisle for a moment and slipped out of the seat and moved an orange traffic cone from the space he wanted. It was the last one in the old part of the building, right next to where the new part was being added on. He drove the van into the space and shut it down. Sat still for a moment. The garage was quiet. It was completely full with silent cars. The space he had protected with the traffic cone had been the last one available. The garage was always packed. He knew that. That was why they were extending it. They were doubling its size. It was used by shoppers. That was why it was quiet. Nobody in their right mind would try to leave at 5 o'clock. Not into the rush hour traffic. Not with the construction delays. Either they'd get out by 4 or wait until 6. The man in the minivan checked his watch. 4 minutes. Easy. He opened the driver's door and slid out, took a quarter from his pocket and put it in the meter, twisted the handle hard and heard the coin fall and saw the clockwork give him an hour in exchange. There was no other sound. Nothing in the air except the smell of parked automobiles. Gasoline, rubber, cold exhaust. He stood still next to the van. On his feet, he had a pair of old desert boots, khaki suede, single eyelets, white crepe soles, made by Clark's of England, much favored by Special Forces soldiers. An iconic design, unchanged in maybe 60 years. He glanced back at the parking meter. 59 minutes. He wouldn't need 59 minutes. He opened the minivan's sliding rear door and leaned inside and unfolded a blanket and revealed the rifle. It was a Springfield M1A Supermatch autoloader, American walnut stock, heavy premium barrel, 10-shot box magazine, chambered for the .308. It was the exact commercial equivalent of the M14 self-loading sniper rifle that the American military had used during his long-ago years in the service. It was a fine weapon. Maybe not quite as accurate with the first cold shot as a top-of-the-line bolt gun, but it would do. It would do just fine. He wasn't going to be looking at extraordinary distances. It was loaded with Lake City M852s. His favorite custom cartridges, special Lake City Match brass, Federal powder, Sierra Match King 168-grain hollow point boat tail bullets. The load was better than the gun, probably. A slight mismatch. He listened to the silence and lifted the rifle off the rear bench, carried it away with him to where the old part of the garage finished and the new part began. There was a half-inch trench between the old concrete and the new, like a demarcation line. He guessed it was an expansion joint, for the summer heat. He guessed they were going to fill it with soft tar. Directly above it, there was yellow and black caution do not enter tape strung between two pillars. He dropped to one knee and slid under it, stood up again, and walked on into the raw new construction. Parts of the new concrete floor were troweled smooth and parts were rough, still waiting for a final surface. There were wooden planks laid here and there as walkways. There were haphazard piles of paper cement sacks, some full, some empty. There were more open expansion joints. There were strings of bare light bulbs, turned off. Empty wheelbarrows, crushed soda cans, spools of cable, unexplained lengths of lumber, piles of crushed stone, silent concrete mixers. There was gray cement dust everywhere, as fine as talc, and the smell of damp lime. The man with the rifle walked on in the darkness until he came close to the new northeast corner. Then he stopped and put his back tight against a raw concrete pillar and stood still. Inch to his right with his head turned until he could see where he was. He was about 8 feet from the garage's new perimeter wall, looking due north.